We are live. That music's okay, huh?
Yeah, if I like it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take much for me to start bouncing anyway, so.
We are. Yeah. Yeah, sorry about that. Had a little double thing going. But look, welcome to pre-election night coverage. Carl Azul, Sheridan Pringle, myself. I think I could get used to that music. Our normal music for the show is kind of, upbeat and gets us going in the morning, but I could deal with that. That's actually from StreamYard, who we use to broadcast. So that was something that's given us a little countdown there. But let's get right to it. A lot to discuss. The OBA's platform came out last night. The PLP's platform's been out for a few days now, and the election is 4 days away. And I've read both of the platforms that I've seen. Someone sent me something regarding the FDM's platform. So we'll get your. I want to talk about what's missing and what's there, but I also want to let people know a couple of big announcements right now before we even go any further. If you haven't already, share this link, let people know this is where we are right now for this episode. We are on YouTube. You can subscribe. Where's the subscribe? Down in the bottom right of somebody's YouTube, I guess. You can subscribe to the station. This is where you'll come for daily hour updates and promos and so on. But I definitely want to speak to you guys about what you think is missing. But before we go any further, I'll share one announcement with you. One of the announcements is we will be joined on election night. And this is pretty much excites me. This makes me very happy that I've been able to convince this person to join us. But we do have my former colleague, Teo Dill, as well as Nikisha Cameron, who will be joining us on election night while we give feedback as results come in. So I'm very happy about that. If you know Teo, it's not easy, but I'm very excited that Teo, who's also a former senator, will be coming out to discuss the election and looking forward to his commentary. If you know Teo, he probably is going to share knowledge that myself, I probably hadn't thought of or haven't considered when it comes to an election. So thank you again to Teo and Nikisha, who brings a wealth of knowledge herself. If you know Nikisha, she shares a lot of information politically on her social media platforms. So Teo and Nikisha will be joining us. We have another big announcement that I'll speak about a bit later. But tonight, we definitely want to touch on a few things that we saw and didn't see in the platforms. What are your thoughts on the platforms? Did you see anything? And folks, you can, like we are on the normal show, you can comment as well. You can share your comments, ask questions as well. But what were your thoughts? What did you think about the platforms you've read so far?
I'm gonna totally tell you the truth. Actually, I'm not gonna do a Donald Trump, and I have not actually sat down and dug into the platforms yet. I actually have to collect them because I have to take them to a client. So we will probably go over those together shortly. But I have started my homework. I just haven't finished it.
Carla?
I'm actually looking at the OBAs now. Do I see anything new or riveting? Not really. The PLP haven't dug in. I looked at some of the FDMs. And the education reform, I mean, that's big on everybody's mind. I've been hearing that it's exciting things that people are hoping to see in the FDMs. But to sit them all down side by side, and for me, politics isn't my thing, so I'm really trying hard to become more engaged. But this is my first time ever looking at platforms, ashamedly, admittedly. So, what are yours, Mal?
I've actually enjoyed reading them, but it did give me kind of a migraine at one point when I got to the OBAs, in fairness, and I'm intrigued that both the OBA and the PLP both have the authority thing. I really want to hear both of them speak about this education authority and why they think it'll make things better. What I found interesting that I just want to touch on in the PLP. I look, if we went on platforms and voted on them, I think that the PLP has the better platform, but we all know that some of it looks like fluff. It looks like it probably won't happen, can't happen. I have more questions than answers. One of the things that came up, struck me in the PLP's one is increased investment in the Bermuda Economic Development Corporation with the goal of starting dozens of new Bermudian-owned businesses every year. So my first question would be, are we just going to be giving funding to people who want to start businesses? What's the criteria? How are we measuring it? What kind of, like, are we solving problems? Are these businesses that people need? Are they filling a need? This is, I have so many questions about that one. And then the digital bank. I like that idea by the PLP. My question is, because I've always said that when the banks and all these big companies downsize, Bermudians should actually put their collective knowledge together and, start their own bank. So I'm wondering if it's going to include some of the top bankers that Bermuda's had over the years, and I'd like to see how it turns out. So I think that that's pretty good as well. Don't forget, just let everyone know who's tuned in right now. We will be discussing past
election results,
but we'll also be discussing some key constituencies, and I want to start with 36 as well. 30 constituency 36. So everyone get your pens and papers out, because we're going to touch on constituency 36, which I believe is crucial. And don't forget, we do have another big announcement that really changes the game for Bermuda, especially on election night. Terry asks a question: are these businesses going to create jobs or get people to stop working for their current employers? And that's a good question. There's so many questions regarding that. We did have the Bermuda Economic Development Corporation executive director on, Erika Smith, and one of the questions I remember asking is, what is the success rate? Those are the questions that Bermudians deserve to know before you take taxpayers' dollars and say we're going to invest them per se into new businesses and new ideas and so on.
I in the PLP platform, under better immigration policies, grow the economy by providing incentives for emigrated Bermudians to return home. I found that one interesting as well. And I
actually was 5 down. I was actually going to touch on that a bit later, but since you mentioned it, what will make you go back to Bermuda, Carla?
Oh, way to put me in the spot. At this point, in this very moment, nothing. No, I think the cost of living is the hugest one, especially as being a single parent, with everything just so astronomical, even the basics. So if there was a way to make it more cost effective just for basic living, because, I always feel for people who are not empowered or have a trade or educated how they make out. So for me, it would definitely be tied into the cost of living.
I'll answer the same question, because what would it take from considering? Well, I don't know. I mean, what would it take to get
it's hard, isn't it? It's a hard.
I really try and think about when I came back home in 1996, and it was actually that I wanted to make money. I wanted to make more than I was making in the US, because the US, I was getting killed with taxes and all types of other things. So, I mean, if I were out in your positions now, and remember, I lived out there for 12 years and I came home after that, it would definitely be to make money. So with the way the economy is right now here, I mean, I'd probably stay where I was for now, and just to see if some of these promises come to fruition, unless you're going to be self-employed. Then,
well, I guess the question is, what are the incentives? What do they look like?
Right.
Carla mentioned, she mentioned just now the cost of living. Well, what is the incentive for this Bermudian that you want to get back to? Is it addressing the cost of living that's impacting it, right? And then for me, my situation's bigger than me. It involves a partner. So I can't just say, they offer me, dangle a carrot in front of me, I'm jumping back to Bermuda because it's something I can do. It's not that easy from that perspective.
The other factor for me, which I don't think can be politicized, is safety. where we grew up and watching the whole neighborhood be blighted by gun violence. And if I went back, I would live in the home I left. And I didn't feel safe when I left, So that's a huge one. And peace of mind, I think, is priceless.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the things that you can't put a price on, but also opportunity. So if I had to move back tomorrow, the opportunities afforded to my children now, we would never have those in Bermuda. And could that be something that you could incentivize?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So, I mean, I that's so broad brush.
Mm-hmm.
It would be interesting to see what, like you said, what they would be and who would they motivate or stimulate to return home.
Mm-hmm. I think, I think there's more. I guess the platform is just providing what they want to do. I have a lot of questions on how it's going to get done. That's where I am at with it. How is it going to get done? Let's get to some key constituencies, and then we will get back to the platforms, because I definitely want to. I want to engage with the audience on this, because I pointed out what each party can do in terms of increasing the revenue into Bermuda. So we want to talk about that a bit later. But let's start with constituency 36. That's not your constituency, is it, Sherry?
No, it's not. About the homework that we were given to do, though, I found it really interesting. There's a lot of new faces out there. Mm-hmm. There are very few constituencies that actually have the same people that were there last time, which I found interesting. But 36 is not my constituency. That's up west, right?
Yeah, that's.
I find it interesting.
West. That's the furthest west. That would be, I believe, right up through Dockyard, Bose Island area.
Mm-hmm. I see it as a two-person race. I don't see Jeff Sousa making much headway up there. I'm even interested in as to why he's running up there. I find that very intriguing. But with between PLP's Kathy Lynn Simmons and FDM's Mark Bean, I can see an FDM upset. I haven't seen the interview he did on another entity, but everyone's saying how very interesting it is. And someone sent me a message when they heard we were going to be on and was like, if I could vote, I would vote for Mark. So it may be an upset up there.
Interesting. I actually disagree with you 1,000%. I actually think Jeff Sousa has a better chance than Kathy Lynn Simmons. Keep in mind that Michael Scott, if I'm not mistaken, won that by a very small margin in 2012. 50.
But who did he run against?
No. What? Let me
finish. Ray Charlton.
Yeah, let me finish. I'm going to say that he won by a very small margin, 50.51%, and then in 2017. He actually won by 66.02%, both against Ray Charlton. Here's what's going to happen, in my opinion. I don't think the PLP are going to win that seat, but Jeff Sousa, if it's not Mark Bean, has a better chance, because Mark Bean has the opportunity to cancel votes that Kathy Lynn Simmons would get. I don't think that Jeff Sousa would have a problem getting the votes that would normally vote that way. So if those votes cancel out those, that actually gives him a great opportunity. And I think that's why it probably makes sense for them to go heavy in that area. But I believe that if it doesn't work out in Jeff Sousa's favor, I think Mark Bean definitely has a chance. But I think him being there, it really, I mean, I don't know. I look forward to revisiting this conversation on election night, and right or wrong, I just don't see how Kathy Lynn Simmons can pull it off based on his.
Well, I mean, the connectivity, because I hear people saying that Jeff has said he's a Somerset boy, whatever the case may be. But I mean, Ray Charlton was known, was known for his voice and all of that in the West End. Does Jeff have that same appeal? That's like putting someone in town who's from another area. So I think that the way I'm looking at it is that connectivity there.
Now, sorry.
No, I was really surprised that he moved to 36 and didn't stay in 28. I know the young, I believe Dwayne Robinson, is now in 28, but is now in 28. But Jeff actually had good favor in his constituency, so I'm surprised that he went west. But
what was it? Constituency 2 that Nandi Davis won?
Years back. Mm-hmm.
So in 2012, she won that. And why did she win that? Because Kim Swan canceled out votes for the PLP, right? And Nandi Davis slipped in. That's the exact situation the OBA is in up in Dockyard. Because I can see Mark Bean having an impact. I can see him winning it, actually. Mm-hmm. I can see him winning it. But I can also see him taking votes away from the PLP that usher in Jeff Sousa.
Right.
So it's I mean, it can go
a game, right?
Yeah, it can go either way. You know, you can only make predictions based on what's before you, right? Mm-hmm. People thought Man City would beat Leicester today. You see how that ended, 5-2 Leicester City. Quite the result. We definitely enjoy things like that.
You always speak your language, don't you?
Absolutely. So if you're just joining us, I did announce early on in this show that we will be having election night coverage beginning at 8 p.m. Bermuda time. As results come in, we will be joined by Teo Dill, Nikisha, Cameron, Roger Denbrook will be out in the field. And as well as Jackie, whose birthday is today. Happy birthday, Jackie! Again.
Happy birthday, Jackie.
Yes, Jackie's birthday. That's why she's not with us, folks. We're giving her the day off, letting her, eat her birthday cake and enjoy the day. But
I hope she's sending you footage for tomorrow morning, though. There's gotta be footage.
Gotta be. I mean,
somebody send us footage, okay?
It would be a good birthday weekend if we didn't get footage from Jackie, right? But so 36. So Carla, you have it going to who?
I do think Mark Bean. I just think it's a two-man fight. I feel it's going to be close, but I do say Mark Bean. I think he will.
Sorry?
I say Mark.
All right. Am I allowed to say two people?
No. Two people win?
I think it's Mark. Like I said, my prediction is I think the PLP will have trouble winning that seat.
So before we move on, why? Is my question to you, because you don't think that,
like I just
Kathy
said,
I know what you're talking about, the analogy of it, but you don't think that Kathy has done enough to garner the votes?
I don't know what she's done. Let's be fair. When Nile Minister Renee Ming ran down there, it was an incident where she was placed there really late. And she really didn't have a chance. If the minister of the current minister, Renee Ming, in my opinion, would have had the opportunity to canvass longer down in St. George's,
she would have won.
I think she would have won regardless of the three people that were running. Right. So I think using that is kind of not an exact analogy. I do believe that Mark can pull it off, but I just think that he adds a different dimension. I think Mark brings something that a lot of people like. No matter how it's spun in the media, I think he brings something different. He's not everyone's cup of tea, let's be honest. But what he is someone that you love to hear from. He's someone, whether you agree with him or not, you're going to say, out of the 10 things he says, I really, really like that one thing. And so I think that's missing in Bermuda politics. I think people want to see how he does back in the current environment.
The clip that went around last few hours where he was talking about the mask, do you think that would hurt him?
No.
Especially not the correction and the deeper explanation.
Let me be clear with stuff like that. Stuff like that only truly makes a difference to people who already were not going to vote for him. Let's be real. I think at this point, a lot of people kind of know who they're voting for, right? Let's go to some comments before we move on. We will stay with us. We're going to speak about this. I've already broke the first bit of news that we'll have Teo Dill and Nikisha Cameron, Roger Denbrook joining us for election night coverage. As far as what platforms we'll be on, trust me, we have a big one for you. We will be. I'll speak about it before we end this segment. So
we can't be missed.
Yeah, we can't be missed. We will be everywhere for everyone, every age group. Not on the Disney Channel or nothing like that.
Or Netflix yet.
No, not Netflix yet. Christopher Douglas says it's probably going to be between Jeff Sousa and Mark Bean. That's where I'm coming from. I'm feeling it. That's what I'm feeling. And keep in mind, I want to go to this. He cleared the mass comments up. Yeah, he did speak the next day, and spoke about what he meant. But Mark's been doing this long enough to know that sound bites matter to people. It's not about you explaining yourself further or what you really meant, but people will take your comments and utilize them how they feel best suit whatever narrative. Mark in the house will change the landscape for sure. I totally agree. I think Bermuda is screaming out for Mark Bean in that House of Assembly. That's my personal opinion. Don't forget, we'll get back to some of the things in the platforms. Let's move on to another constituency, you guys. What else did I have? 28. That is a very interesting one because it's Dennis Lister
the third.
I always say like 3 or 2.
3.
I'll be like Charles Jefferson 2. Yeah. But my bad. No offense meant to anyone. So this is a very interesting one to me. Now, this seat was won by Mr. Lister, 50.57% in 2017, right? In 2012, let's just go back. In 2012, when the PLP lost that seat to Jeff Sousa, they got 36.6%. The previous election, 37.47%. That right there is probably, I'm gonna go without even explaining. I think Dwayne Robinson has an opportunity to win that seat for the OBA. I really do. And this is, I'll explain. I think he's probably one of the most visible and connected politicians there is amongst young people. Not saying that Mr. Lister isn't. I'm saying that Dwayne Robinson makes it a point to make himself known, and he's in the Senate. He's always engaged in conversations. I think it will be close, but I think that he might edge it. So that's where I'm going. How about you, Carla?
I do think he will win it. I do. I also, what I appreciate, because I've been, ever since he came on the show, I've been quietly observing him. And I like how he's not afraid to speak his mind, but I also like that he's not in the spirit of the dragging down and being negative. And to be honest, I don't even know what Mr. Lister stands for. Overall, he seems very quiet. Doesn't mean he's unproductive, but if I hear the name Dwayne Robinson, I can think of something to affiliate him with, and I'm impressed by him. So I do think he will win it.
Before you jump in, Shari, I must say, one of the things that impressed me about the PLP and their backbenchers is, unlike when the OBA was in previously, you never really heard Kenny Basker more on Shirley Dill's show than you did in the House. Never really heard Nandi Otterbridge. Like I listened to I was one of those boring people who listened. With the PLP, I actually hear almost everyone. Chris Famous is probably, you would think he's a minister. He makes sure he represents his constituents. Dennis Lister, the younger Lister that we're speaking about now, I will never forget his words when they voted to pass the legislation to end conscription. He was very complimentary. Has been very outspoken and out there with the road safety initiative. So he has been visible in that respect. I just think that Dwayne he's made himself available a bit more. For instance, he's been on this show. Mr. Lister hasn't. Not saying that we've asked him or he's whatever.
Or rejected or whatever.
Yeah, just that Dwayne has put himself in a space where I think he's given himself a great opportunity to win that seat. Shari, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, that's okay. I like Dwayne. I really do. Ever since he came onto the scene, even before politics, I just think that he is someone who young people gravitate to, and I believe that he has a lot to offer. So if you look at how many, if he impacts the voters in Southampton, in Warwick West, but also that falls over into a little bit of Southampton, I think he has a good chance of winning. I've had work experience with Dennis Lister III because with A Piece of the Rock we worked together hand in hand with the Bermuda Road Safety Council. So his also his quiet, but that the council, the Road Safety Council, is getting a little bit more energetic, and he probably does impact some of the younger people also. But I think Dwayne is the type of politician that you don't care what party he's with. You just want him in the house.
Yeah,
that's how I feel about Dwayne. About Lister, that's a family thing. You know where he's going to be. He's never going to be one party or another party. He's always going to be that party. But Dwayne, I would love to see just Dwayne in the house. That's it.
Gotcha. So you're going, Carla, your pick for that seat?
Yeah, Dwayne Robinson.
Sorry?
Dwayne Robinson.
All right. Dwayne Robinson all the way through. So let's see. Let's see what happens in that area. Let's move on to constituency 27. This right here is probably the most interesting one to me because I don't know if it's a compliment or not when all these people want to come for your crown. And I think people just think that the colonel is a vulnerable. Yeah, he's vulnerable. I think people think the colonel is a vulnerable candidate. But who do you have coming out of that one, Carla?
I don't know, because I'm stumped. Pastor Seaman, listen, you all, and I've said it before. Church folks stick together, okay, and they'll come out in droves and droves and droves. I know she said some things that may have upset people, but then Antoine, with what he revealed the other day in his post, I don't know. The apple cart just keeps rocking all over the place for me because Antoine, I think Antoine could. Colonel Birch, will this be his maiden voyage, or is he still Mr. Unelectable? So I would say I honestly think between Pastor Seaman and Antoine Rayner.
Sorry?
But you said unelectable. He won. He won in 2017, right? So,
well,
but how many? What's the chances of you having a person with the same name running in your constituency? I mean, that's a little creepy, right?
No, he's not in this one.
Running in the same one. The other Birch is running in Lawrence Scott's constituency.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, what's the chance of having two people with the same name in one election, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm gonna go. I get with what Carla says about the church people sticking together, but this is not island wide. This is just Warwick, North Central. So I think I'm going to stick with David Birch.
Okay.
Jamal, question for you. What do you think is so appealing about this constituency? I've never heard of, FDM brought in a new candidate, but I've never heard of so many people running in one. What's so appealing about this area? Do you know?
Yeah, that's what I was going to get into, my spill. So the PLP have won this seat, I think Al James in 2007, 56.14%. Very marginal. And then in 2012, Wayne Scott won it 49.32%, and Colonel Birch did not win it. In 2017, Colonel Birch pulled off a big one, 66.17%. One of the things we haven't mentioned is the boundary changes, right? Obviously, boundary changes, don't have all the boundaries in front of us. But saying what makes it interesting is that people still don't believe that Colonel Birch is electable. He did win in 2017, but what we have to take into consideration in 2017 is the fact that people were upset and sending a message to Michael Dunkley and the OBA and Michael Fay and Jeff Barron, but you get my point. So with the understanding that people feel this way, I think in this constituency, it's going to be a rough one. I honestly think Colonel Birch can pull it off. I do. I would say the only way Colonel Birch doesn't win this is if the Collingwood Robinson, Dr. Seaman, and Antoine Reyna actually take votes off of him. That would give Mr. Doug Ducuto for the OBA an opportunity. But I don't know if it's going to be enough. I think that Colonel Birch will be victorious in this constituency.
I smell an upset.
Yeah.
I'm getting on the limb, and I'm getting on the limb because I was almost going to say something. And I'm going to say I think Pastor Seaman may do it.
Oh, I doubt it. But okay.
I said on the limb.
What do you got, Carrie?
I'm going with Dr. Birch, Colonel Birch.
Colonel Birch.
Yeah.
So Shauna says Mr. Birch, Colonel Birch both ran last election. Indeed. I want to go back to Judy Eve. She says the math comment shouldn't hurt Mark, especially if persons watched the entire interview and heard what he has to say. The snippet was absolutely. I totally agree. What's no way in reference to, folks?
Probably to me.
About Seaman?
I just feel, honestly, and no disrespect, I just feel that church people are so cultish, and I think that they will come out, all that who can come out in that constituency will come out and vote for her.
So you're assuming that all church people think the same then?
I'm trying to close my eyes and picture how many churches are in Warwick. I'm just like, that's why I just closed my eyes, people. But I don't think so.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think it's too much work to get Colonel Birch. Like the only two people I can see winning that is Colonel Birch or Douglas Ducuto. The only way Douglas Ducuto wins that is if enough of
the independent votes pull away,
take away from Colonel Birch. But I don't think the PLP should have to worry about anything in that constituency. And my mind may change between now and Thursday, folks, because I did think that Colonel Birch might have a chance to lose that, but it'll be close. I think
they're always out. He does a lot in that community. He's always out doing something. He's like a little Chris Famous.
Yeah. Well, a little Chris Famous. Let's move on real quickly. Don't forget, again, election night coverage begins at 8 p.m. We will have special guest Teo Dill coming out of I'm going to say retirement. Teo Dill coming back. My former colleague at Hot 1075. So he'll be joining us along with Nakisha Cameron, another person with a lot of knowledge when it comes to politics. Roger Denbrook, another person who worked with as well in the past, and he will be joining us as on election night. And 8 p.m. it all starts, folks. 8 p.m. We will be engaging with you about the results as they come in. All right. Constituency 25. That is going to be between Anthea Simmons Wade and John Barnton. I think this is an interesting one to watch. And the reason, this is, if we're not familiar, this is the old seat that Mr. Dale Butler used to occupy. And what people fail to, I know we speak a lot about Chris Famous, who I think outright is simply one of the greatest examples for a member of parliament that Bermuda has in terms of what the work that he does in his constituency. But Dale Butler, to me, was one of the first people like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like Mr. Butler or not Mr. Butler, worked. I remember the day after one of the elections being right back out on the doorstep. Like, he was a worker, and he had to be in a constituency like that, right? We look at this constituency, and it was won by Mark Pattengill, if I'm not mistaken, in 2012, 57 to 42. 57 to 42. And then in 2017, 53% to pretty much 46%. Why I say this is interesting is that when Mr. Jeff Barron resigned, there was a what's it called? There's a
by-election.
A by-election. And although Jeff Barron did beat Kathy Lynn Simmons in that election, the by-election went to Mr. Curtis Dickinson in the by-election that happened. So this is one that the PLP may be in trouble with. I think they may be in trouble. I don't know. I have the PLP in trouble in this one.
You think that? So you're talking about loyalty of party, or are you talking about quality of person? Because
no, I think
Bronson
is a quality candidate. I'm talking about that's a marginal.
No, I didn't mean Miss Wade. I meant I don't think Mr. Bronson. I guess after he came on the show the other day, and I mean it's all contextual, but I don't know, Jamal. I think that Miss Wade's gonna take this one.
Okay.
And I think also legacy. She's been working hard as over the years, just period. As a senator, etc. He could have been. He just seems fluffy to me, respectfully, and I think that she may do it. But if you have those people that only vote party, then of course I see it a little differently. Indeed. But as far as substance, I think it would be Mrs. Wade.
What you got, Sherry?
This one is tough, Jamal. I'm not sure. I disagree with Carla. I know John Bronson personally, so his appearance on our show was not really a reflection of the amazing brain he is and for what he's done in the community with scars and everything. I don't know. I'm gonna go with Miss Wade.
Okay, so that's 2 Miss Wades.
Now, Mal, question to you, because I looked at you as the authority in this, right? For us, he, correct me if I'm wrong, he came out of retirement as such. When was the last time he was in Parliament? 2012. He was part of
2007 to 2012, I believe.
2012. So I think it would be
left earlier than that, because he might have left for a by-election. He might have, I think he might have retired earlier than 2012. Yeah.
So my question is, I guess it depends maybe on how long his canvassing, because some people even, I hear you, Sherry, and I don't think that he's not a brilliant man, but has he had enough time to make up ground to reintroduce himself, because he's been off the political scene for a while?
But I think with marginals, Carla, just based on history, when it comes to marginals, it doesn't really matter, that kind of stuff. I think what matters is how people feel, because all it takes for a marginal to swing one way is people not to vote, which I think someone mentioned in the comments earlier. But let's get to the comments real quickly. I know a lot of people are commenting. Chris Douglas says Conor Brush's team has been very active all year round for the last 2 elections. I don't agree with that. I think that was
probably me.
Yeah, the scene of it. Support, but may not be enough to be an upset. Turnout is also I just mentioned that turnout, seriously, in marginals especially, turnout will be a factor. As I stated, not all church people agree with the pastor. Yeah, I do agree. Seaman has offended church people. No, Carla, she won't be winning.
Okay, Janice.
Now coming at your pick, Lou Matthews said, right. An election of margins, choice to the margin.
And that's what you just said, right, Jamal?
Yeah, I think, yeah, constituency 25, boundary change. So boundary change, my question to you, Mr. Douglas, is who do you think that boundary change benefits more? My area is 26, and I'm so uninspired to vote. Well, let us know in your area. Let us know. I mean, in 26, I have the what was that?
Oh no, 26 is a no win.
It doesn't have to vote.
That's a win for Navatero, right?
Yeah. So he spared you your pain. Your pain's been spared, Terry.
Which is
unfortunately.
Unfortunate. I don't understand how nobody could put somebody in there.
Okay, so he's saying most likely in the OBA's favor because it's absorbed Paget Harbor. Okay, so that may go to John Bronson based on what Chris Douglas is saying. Then 25. Sorry. Okay, she made an error. 25.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
It's tough when you're in an area like that and you really don't know. You really don't know. So then do you go party or people? And
well, I want to go down to, I didn't have this on the list. But we have to talk about this one. It's Constituency 11. Constituency 11, the current MP is Christopher Famous. This was a seat that in 2007, former finance minister, Mr. Bob Richards, won by a small margin, 51.74, and then won again, and I think both times against Mr. Navatero, 57.5 to extend it. Many people thought it was a big upset when Chris Famous won with 55% of the vote in 2017. I know some people may highly disagree with this, and this is just me, the feeling I get. And, all things aside, before that election, I actually did go on the doorstep with Mr. Famous one night. I actually believe, I know people think that Miss Gordon will win this because she's a seasoned person. She's not Mr. Richards, and it's a marginal. I'm going to go on a limb and say Chris Famous wins this seat by an even greater margin. I believe that Chris Famous will win this seat by an even greater margin. Carla.
Did Miss Gordon Pamplin ever officially say that she was going to retire?
No.
Or was that just a murmur?
No, she from what I remember when she said it from her mouth, she didn't think she was going to retire. She said stepping aside from, I think,
the leadership role as such.
And Richardson's running that area.
No, I was just wondering, because I was going to say then, for me, if that was me as a voter, I'd be a bit iffy to think I'm not going to vote you in and then it's going to be a by-election in a year or so. You know what I mean? So that's why I was asking. I think Chris, no one can take it from him. He does the work and he does it all year round. And what I like about Chris, and I guess that's what's the porn dog in us, especially us up the top Jamal, showers in the bushy parts, is that Chris connects with the people. I even watched the conversation last night, even where he had dissenters in the same thread and they were still engaging. And I just think it's so important for people to be able to connect with you even when you disagree. And know whether you agree with him or not, he has that, and I think he will win it. And it's a shame because I like Miss Pamplin. I think that she's contributed a lot, and she has a strong voice. But I think that Chris will win this.
Oh, she'll be a mess.
She will be.
Yeah. I like Patricia Pamplin, Gordon Pamplin, but Chris is that politician that you just kind of are happy that he's in the House. You don't care what party he's won with, but he works hard and he deserves to be reelected in that constituency because he has worked hard. And so no matter how short the time people have had to canvass and everything, Chris has been out there the entire time and he deserves to be reelected. I really like Chris. And the thing about it, there are some of us old folks that actually do connect with young people very well. And so I think that Chris connects with his generation, the one after him and the one before him. And I think that's what's also important. And you can call him. You can WhatsApp. I go back to WhatsApp him right now and he'll respond. That's how good he is.
Okay. So let me, before we move on, tell us what it is, Douglas, please. 11 is another boundary change. I want to answer this question. Dennis Palmer says, is canvassing an island thing? I'm sure Trump isn't knocking on doors. Canvassing is annoying to me. I like my constituency because my representatives are highly visible in my area. Let me say this much. In the U.S., from what I've experienced, they may not canvass you on your doorstep, but they certainly call and send you a whole pile of junk mail, and it's a different kind of irritation. Trust me.
I put my US SIM card in the other day, and it's like I had so many voicemails from parties based on my zip code when I'm in the US. I was like, wow.
No, it's I mean,
it's virtual canvassing.
Hey, Carla.
Sorry, Mel, say that again.
How do they do it in the UK? Like, how do they solicit?
They slip something in your mailbox My MP, I know her name because she is very active. And what I like about her, if she comes, you know what they do? It's interesting. They come around to school. So when parents are picking up their kids and they introduce themselves, and she'll say, "Do you have any issues?" She'll write them down and she'll reply. So it's quite interesting. They don't come knocking like how they do, in Bermuda, but they definitely let you know that they're active.
Indeed.
So.
All right. So real quickly, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page. So right down bottom in the right side of the video, I think that's where it is. Yeah, you can subscribe right there. Make sure you subscribe. That's how you'll get updates. So here's the other part announcement. Again, I have to thank Nikisha Cameron for joining us one Thursday night, and also my former colleague Teo Dill. I promise we won't have any T&J's barbershops on Rajay or anything like that. We won't fight on air, none of that stuff. But glad to have Teo join us. And here's the other news. People have been asking, where are we going to be showing? So we will be live on our normal platforms. On this YouTube station, we'll be live on Facebook, on the Daily Hour Facebook page, and the Full 100 Radio Facebook page. We'll be live on Twitter and Twitch on the Daily Hour handles. We will be live also on the Full 100 Radio station if people just want to listen to us. But we will also be live on Channel 82 in Bermuda on television for anyone who is unable to watch it on the internet. So we will be available on Channel 82. That's some pretty good news, I'd say. What? So you do have the option of tuning in, not on your device, but your TV. So make sure you join us, you tune in. Like I said, we should have some good commentary with the people that are joining us. We'll have Shari, Jackie, and Rajay out at the headquarters. So looking forward to speaking with the winners and losers. I'll never forget Alia Hamza. One time, I think it was 2007 general election, 2007, and she was at PLP headquarters, and Wayne Cairns had lost down, and I think Constituency 7 somewhere. And she said she must have came on like, "No, we're talking to the loser," or something like. And I still remember Alia. She was at BBC then, and I laughed to this day about it. I mean, technically, he was the loser of the night, but it's a lot. It's a lot going on. We just want to make sure that we're accessible to have great conversations with and engage with our audience. We have a lot to discuss, and we just want everyone to understand. Keep in mind that this actually is going to determine a lot that goes on in your life. That's what elections do. To keep it focused on Bermuda, but just look what just happened in the U.S. Right? I don't even know which story to say. Whether
exactly
tax situation, but I use that as an example because a lot depends on us, and we have these platforms. And I want to get back to the platform real quickly before we go on another constituency. We have 12 minutes left. Got to keep it tight, folks. But we have the platforms, and it's important that we don't just accept these platforms and look at them and say, "Oh, this is fluff," or "This is great." We actually need to be, you know what? Why is this? How are you measuring that? Where's the money coming from for this? It all sounds good when they tell us what they want to do. By the way, is it true that the OBA had something in their platform about renaming St. David's from a parish or something?
No, St. David's isn't a parish.
No, making it a parish, I meant. Did they have something?
I keep hearing about it, and it's interesting because that's been a discussion for so long. So if that's the best you can come up with to get people down there, and I think people thought that they thought people would be all excited about it, and it's getting a lot of negative kickback. It's like, really?
But I've always thought St. David should be it's an parish. But why do we need to have a government? Just the people should.
But why does it have to be on a platform? That's my point. I'm not saying that it shouldn't be a parish.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think when I saw the when I read it, I didn't get through the OBA's entire one in the way I did the PLPs. I skimmed it. I actually read the PLP's entire one, and when I skimmed the OBA's one, I was really focused on the things that I picked out of the PLP's one, like what they're going to do to stabilize the economy, education, as well as tourism. Those were the things I actually honed on. So I looked at the PLP's one, then honed on those things and the OBA's one. And it was a harder read. I'll say that much. The OBA's was a harder read. And I mean, if you were going to take stuff from the PLP's one, just kind of have the same, look, have the same framework, right? I saw Bermuda's report it, but I didn't see it when I glanced. I know Patricia saying it was on Bermuda's. I saw Bermuda's a clip, but I did not actually come across it when I viewed their thing. I mean, my reading skills ain't the greatest, but
they'll fight over the airport, right?
Well,
that'll be interesting. Who gets the airports, St. George's or St. David's?
Well, I mean,
St. George's can say they have it in the beginning, and St. David's can say we have it at the end, or vice versa. But it would
be St. David's. The actual airport be St. George's.
But at the end of the day, with that whole parish thing, how does that improve anyone's quality of life? Or
there you go, Carla. There you go. And I think that's what people are a bit bothered by. How does that help people? I mean, maybe it's something that St. George's and St. David's people can help us understand if it does something. I mean, I find it interesting that we would want to make a parish independent and have no interest in making the country independent, per se. Like, you want to be your own parish, but you don't want to be your own country. I don't know. It's just a bit different to me.
It's interesting because remember when somebody was on the show and they said they were waiting for the PLP to put out their platform. So it's like, there is nothing wrong with both parties saying that they want the same thing, but it seems like in some senses they were just looking for something different, something that was like different than the other party said, which.
But that's my point about the St. David's thing is it's not even like it's been on the radar lately. I know that St. David's people for years have been advocating for that, etc. But it's not like it's a hot button topic right now. So it's like that's random, like where did that come from?
One of the things stood out to me, running out of time here, folks, stood out, and I know we have to mention this because I know Shari talks about it a lot. Sugar tax. The OBA said they will repeal sugar tax.
Repeal it.
Okay. I doubt that the grocery stores are gonna repeal their high damn prices just because of that.
But okay, so I'm glad you mentioned that. So the OBA says they want to repeal sugar tax. The PLP, right? They're not good. The PLP mentioned living wage and what was it? Got it here. They mentioned implementing the living wage. It's hard when you got so many bulleted points here, right?
Excuse me.
Anyway, they mentioned living wage, right? And here it is. They'll finish implementing minimum and living wages to ensure workers receive a dignified wage, which allows them to cover their basic needs. Let me be very clear, and make sure if you take this clip like you do Mark Bean, if you're going to do me like Mark Bean, make sure you take the entire thing of what I'm about to say. I completely disagree with a living and minimum wage. I think that is the last thing that Bermuda needs. Hear me out now. Let me stop so you can take that clip.
And then promote it.
If a company is paying their workers $20 an hour, and then the law now says, okay, we've now created this living and minimum wage, and the living and minimum wage is going to be $18 an hour. You think that these companies are not going to say, oh, I've been paying 20. All I have to pay is 18 now? Okay, cool. Save more money. The second part of it, living wage cannot work, in my opinion, based on what I know, unless you have price controls. Because what happens is if you set wages and you say, oh, if a company, let's say, Shari and Carla's Chicken Shack, right? They pay their workers $10 an hour. And they sell chicken sandwiches for $10 an hour. For $10 a sandwich.
$10 each.
If you now tell Carla and Shari's Chicken Shack that they have to pay the employees instead of 10, 15, right? What you think they're going to do? Raise the price of the chicken sandwich. So how does that help the worker who's making more money, but the expenses are still high? You would have to have price control to make it work. So I think we have to be very careful in jumping on living wage and minimum wage and understand what it means. It doesn't just mean, oh yeah, I'm going to have more money in my pocket. No, it don't mean that.
I don't have a problem with minimum wage, but the basic, the living wage thing, I just hope that they're not trying to reinvent the wheel, because the US is doing the basic income, looking at that, and it would just be really good if you just don't spend a whole lot of time reinventing the wheel and think about it, in the same way.
Yeah, but minimum, I think the US is a perfect example of why minimum wage doesn't work. It's a perfect example of how workers are exploited. That's how you have the big change that you do, and the owners are billionaires and these billionaire families. Well, you got staff who can't even afford to not live on a system. Living wage and minimum wage does not. The only way, I'll say this much again, the only way living wage works is if you have price controls. And once you enter that market right there, you're taking away free market. It's a whole different economy at that point. So,
yeah.
I'm not quite sure how that works, but I say that because I think the same of that as I do the sugar tax. The repeal of the sugar tax. My personal thoughts, I haven't shared them, and we've discussed it quite a bit. But sugar tax, if the idea was to use the money to educate and improve the health of the people, I'm all for it. But if sugar tax is pretty much another way to make money, then nah. I'd repeal it. But like Shari said, are the prices of anything going to come down? This where we're at. We're running out of time. Want to do another constituency?
Yeah, quick.
Let's go to constituency number 7.
Now you're talking.
That's your constituency, right?
That is my constituency. It is it's actually the constituency that I would have run in had I decided to run.
Okay. Real quickly, before we move on, this is an interesting comment, and I hope she doesn't mind me. The improvement in technology is eliminating jobs, making the wage 0.0 in any case at the low end. This is a great point, and I should have mentioned this here. If you tell a company, like a fast food chain, I'm going to keep them, that they have to raise their minimum wage, you know what they're going to do? Use technology to eliminate the jobs as well, and because you go into some of these joints and you're using the computer to make your order. That is a part of but yes, that's a part of being told by governments that you have to pay more. Okay, well, you can't tell me how many people to hire, so I'll just eliminate the positions through technology. So thank you for that. Chris Douglas says we have a price commission amendment 2017 where the fine increase from 500 to 500 for failing to comply by exchanging information on pricing. That's not necessarily price control, though. That's not necessarily price control. I mean, I'm saying the pricing would have to be. I mean, it's a different animal. But constituency 7. Let's go, Shari. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts?
I think that the FDM could, but I think Anthony Richardson probably will prevail. This constituency is definitely going to require turnout. It has a large elderly white population, and if they turn out in full, it can go back to the OBA. The FDM hasn't had a whole lot of time to canvass, but I'm going to go with my alum Anthony Richardson, though, even though I do love the FDM candidate,
who is Cheryl Packwood.
And only because Anthony has been very visible. The other 2 candidates in that have not. So I'm going to give it to Anthony. And
I think Cheryl Packwood, especially because you're saying that it's an old white constituency, and she is ABIC or ABEAR, whichever she was. She's done a lot in that business realm, and I think that she could take it.
Carla's going with some independents and third parties. Yeah, I like her.
You all know I'm outside the box. I'll take my licks on election night, but that's just how I feel.
All right, real quickly before we head out, I'm gonna go with Anthony Richardson. I think I agree with Shari. The work he's done there has been extremely visible. I think based on that, I think the PLP may lose 2 to 4 seats, but they'll pick up about 2 or 3 that they don't have. So it's going to be an interesting one. On that note, thank you, Carla and Shari, for joining us. Jackie is enjoying her birthday, so if you haven't already, make sure you show some love to Jackie. Birthdays come once a year. Celebrate them, enjoy them, and just do what we can to get another one. We will be live election night, all our social media platforms. We will be live on all of our social media platforms, from Twitter to Facebook, YouTube right here. And also we will be live on channel 82 from 8 p.m. Coverage begins at 8 p.m. Just want to give a big shout out to those who have gotten behind us to sponsor this. Marketplace and North Shore Medical and Aesthetics. We have a couple other ones as well. So thank you to them for getting behind us. Much love and respect to Lamone Woods, Crimson Tide, Channel 82 for wanting to do this, and the others that have joined us to do this, Roger, Nikisha, as well as Teo. We're looking forward to a great night with everyone. Again, if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. We want to get as many subscribers so that we can continue to give you content the way that you deserve it. Don't forget, tomorrow morning, live at 8 p.m. Bermuda time, we will have the Information Commissioner's Office.
8 a.m. You said 8 p.m. 8 a.m.
Ooh, look at me.
You're acting like it's 1 o'clock in the morning, like it is in the UK.
Night, first time in so long, so I'm not there, folks. So I will say this much: tune in tomorrow. Should be a good show. We're going to be talking about Patty and everything else, so you don't want to miss that. I'm sure you have a lot of questions, because we're going to ask some questions about the 800,000 and a Patty request and so on. We have a lot of questions to ask. On that note, Carla, Shari, I'm Jamel Hartman. See you tomorrow morning.